You're good.
Good afternoon, Mr. Paul Williams.
Good
My name is
afternoon.
Anne Marie. I first want to say thank you for interviewing with me out of your busy schedule. I have a couple of questions that I would like to ask you.
Certainly.
Okay. What is your current job title or your position, and how long have you been in this role?
Director of Sales, and I've been in this role for 3.5 years.
Okay. How did you actually land this position?
Well, it's funny. I worked with Marriott for about 15 years,
Okay.
and the person who hired me back then, she had just gotten this position with Westgate Resorts as our National Director of Group and Leisure Sales, and she offered me the position. So I was actually recruited for this position.
Okay. What do you enjoy most or least about your job?
Most, I like to talk about most. Yeah. What I do enjoy most is the opportunity every day to just interact with people, different people. You know, in my opinion, life is about relationships, and you never know on any given day who you might meet and who you might be able to, and how, as a matter of fact, you might be able to impact someone's life. You know, being in sales, it's a very dynamic profession because, again, it's always evolving, and one of the things I enjoy the most is traveling and going to different places and meeting different people. This job has allowed me to travel to places like Africa. It has allowed me to go to places like Rome. And just building relationships and networking and establishing new relationships. That's what I enjoy most about this job.
Anything?
That I don't like. It's a very demanding job. You know, for
Okay.
example, this morning I was at one of our locations at 7 this morning.
Oh wow,
and
that early?
Yep. And chances are I'm going to be going on till probably about 8:30, maybe 9 tonight.
Oh.
That's the kind of day I'm having today, and that's how it was yesterday, and that's how it's going to be for the rest of the week. In fact, it's so busy that I have a room at the hotel. If I decide to stay there tonight, I'll stay there tonight.
Oh, okay.
You know, so it's very
That's
demanding.
very demanding.
So it's hard to find a balance sometimes between family life and work.
Okay.
Yeah, but I enjoy it.
Alright, do you work in a team or is it an independent environment?
Team environment. We have a team of, in this office, about 12 associates. And because we have, in Orlando and the Kissimmee area, we have about 10 resorts that we do oversee.
Okay.
Altogether, we have, in our portfolio, we have about 29 or 30. And there are times when I'm traveling out to places like Gatlinburg or Park City, Utah, or Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You know, but we have a huge team.
How does this style impact your work? Meaning, working with others can be challenging,
Mhm.
supportive, helpful, and working independently can be lonely and empowering, also difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So how does it impact, being a part of our team, how does it impact your work?
You know what? The positives always outweighs the negatives. They're challenging times. But if you see the challenging times as an opportunity for you to grow, the challenge, to me, it's an opportunity to grow. So there are days when we come in and we don't see eye to eye. And so, there's some fights, and sometimes the fights do get, but at the end of it, it's an opportunity for us to grow. And as a leader of the team, that's something that I emphasize always, that, we're not always going to be on the same page. And I think we understand that. We've been working together. This team, the core team that we have right now, has been together for about 3 years too. Some have been here before, maybe a year before, but we are a brand new team. But most of us have had a relationship with each other before we got here. So for example, the person that I report to, Sonia Alvarez, she's been a friend of mine, a personal friend of mine for over 20 years. She gave me my first job when I came to Orlando, and that was 15, 20 years ago. I have other people here who I've worked with before in the past also. So we've crossed paths,
So you
before.
basically maintain your relationship.
It's very important.
Okay.
That's key in a business like this.
Did you have to change your lifestyle because of the position you now hold, and why?
No, yes and no, because I've always been a person who enjoys traveling. So I used to travel a
So
lot.
this works out perfect.
This works out perfect for me.
Okay.
And I say yes in the sense that it's a lot more demanding in terms of my travel schedule. You know, there are some years when I do 29 trips per year, you know, and sometimes I'm gone for a week, sometimes I'm gone for a day, sometimes I've gone as long as 21 days before.
Okay, make sure you rack up those frequent environments.
No, I've been doing that, trust me, I've been doing that.
All right. What has been your greatest achievement?
Oh, just this quarter, we just surpassed, as a matter of fact, a number of things. But the greatest achievement I want to say is this quarter we were able to do over right now we're sitting at about $2.1 million in revenue that we've generated for this quarter. Our goal was 1.8.
Okay.
The reason why I'm saying it's probably our greatest achievement is because this is one of the toughest seasons of the year for us.
Okay.
So I'm saying it's one of the most challenging seasons. The first quarter is the most challenging season. And I don't think even the team itself felt that we could have done it. But I always had faith in the team and I knew we were going to do it. And as long as we put the work in, you know, we had what some people would consider luck along the way. But I've heard this definition before, that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. We were prepared for the opportunity and we took advantage of the opportunity.
I like that.
Yes.
I like that. What is your personal mission statement?
I've never thought about that. My personal mission statement, I think it's easy though. I've never thought about it. But I'm at a point in my life where I believe I want to maximize. When I say I want to maximize every opportunity that's available to me. So even this opportunity to have this interview today, I want to get the most out of it and I want you to get the most out of it. So my personal mission statement is that I want to make sure that I want to get whatever is available to me out of every situation that I come across. You know, I'm at a point again where I say, you know, I'm about the joy of living. I want to have fun while I'm doing it too. So irrespective of what might be happening, there has to be some fun involved. And so that my personal mission statement is just to extract as much that I can get out of any situation in terms of learning and growing and as much fun also while doing that.
And it's a good point because when you have fun in what you're doing, it makes what you do much easier. So you tend to work smarter and not harder.
I agree.
Describe your career path to this current position.
I believe that everything that I've done thus far has played a role in getting me to where I am today. I remember I was reading this book by Nelson Mandela, and the interview asked him a question. It says, and the question was like, how did you become the man that you are today? And he says, because of his mistakes that he's made. You know, and, yeah. And I like to think that coupled with my successes and as all, you know, everything that's, you know, combined has contributed to where I am today. But my career path, I started off as a night auditor with Marriott Hotels. And I did that for about a year with Marriott. And then from night auditor, I went to the front office, and my present boss now was my boss back then.
Okay.
And I went to the front office. She was a supervisor back then. I got promoted to the position. I became a supervisor also. Then I got a promotion as an assistant GM, and she stayed in sales. She went to sales. I went up to the operations side of the business, and I became a assistant GM for one of their smaller properties, a Fairfield Inn.
Okay.
Then I went to a Courtyard as an assistant GM. Then I went to St. Thomas as an MOD.
So you've pretty much incorporated, this wasn't your ultimate, okay, this is what I want to become the director. You pretty much worked your way from the bottom
Correct.
all the way up to the
Correct.
top.
Correct. You know, but where I'm at today, in terms of sales, I never saw myself getting into sales. I always thought I was going to just be in operations, managing hotels, you know. But that again is even more demanding than the position that I have right now. And at one point in my career, I switched from operations and started doing timeshare sales with Marriott.
Okay.
I worked at the Marriott Vacation Club. And that's how I eventually got into sales. And then from the Marriott Vacation Club, selling timeshare, I got this position here. Because we are a timeshare company, but my responsibilities is more on the rental side.
Okay. So basically, within the hospitality industry, it's pretty much what you do is pretty much, okay, I'm the average person and I want to have like a timeshare or property here in Orlando, and I'll come to you basically.
No, because I'm on the rental
Oh,
side.
you're on the rental side.
So let's say if you wanted to become a timeshare owner,
Mhm.
we have the timeshare division. But what I do is the unused inventory that from timeshare. Let's say you're an owner.
Oh, okay.
We will take your week that you own and we'll rent it, but we rent in bulk.
Okay.
So we're renting to conventions and so forth.
And
Like for
groups.
example, we have a huge group in the house right now that on peak, which is tonight is one of their peak nights, they have over 600 rooms that they're occupying at one of our resorts.
Okay. Alright. What was your major in college?
Business
Business.
accounting.
Okay. And if you were not in this position, what other career path would you be in?
I've been in a kitchen.
In a kitchen?
I've been cooking.
Oh my gosh, that's like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even think of that.
I've been cooking. Yeah, I've been cooking.
Okay. If you had to change one thing about your career path, what would it be and why?
One thing about my career path, what would I change? You know what, it's hard. There isn't anything I would change. And I'm being very honest. The reason I'm saying that is because everything, as I said before, as I alluded to before, even the mistakes that I've made, okay, you know what, I took a position once. I took a position with Marriott where going into the job, I knew the challenge that was ahead of me. I knew the GM was a tough cookie where nobody in Orlando wanted to work with that GM. I personally challenged myself to work with that GM just because nobody wanted to do it. I lasted for probably about a year and eventually left. I resigned the position.
But at least you did it.
Yeah, but I did it for a year and I resigned because she was being very unreasonable in that I had worked an entire year and had made arrangements at the end of the year to go to Jamaica. And she takes every holiday off. She took every holiday off. Every major holiday she took off. And there was one that I requested. And I think it could have been, it wasn't a major holiday. It wasn't like Christmas or Thanksgiving or anything.
Okay.
It was like a Labor Day. And I requested it off. And she granted me, she said yes. And at the last minute, she told me no. And I had already purchased my tickets to Jamaica.
Okay.
So I went to Jamaica. And when I decided to stay in Jamaica for an extended period and I'll come back.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
When I came back, I got back a job at Marriott. I called my regional director at the time, my regional manager at the time, and he rehired me.
2 more questions.
Take as long as you want. Well, not really, not really, because I'm
I know
pressed for
you're
time.
busy.
Today is a
I
crazy
know
day.
you're a busy man.
But I'd love to spend as much time as you would want. But you know.
What are some other obstacles for me? I am majoring in hospitality and tourism management, which you fall perfectly under that bracket. What are some of the obstacles that I might face in the hospitality industry?
Mhm.
Or the major ones that you know for sure coming out into the hospitality world, I might definitely run into that particular problem, and how should I face it and go head on in it?
Mhm. You know, I don't like using, there's certain words I have removed from my vocabulary.
Okay.
And obstacles, they are obstacles, but you have to see them as opportunities, you know.
Okay.
And one such opportunity that you're going to come across is it's difficult sometimes in your career path You might not, it's not a sprint.
Okay.
It's not a sprint. So you have to be very, very patient, you know. And a lot of times in an industry like this, you put the work in, you know, a lot of times they say you reap what you sow. It doesn't necessarily apply in this business because you're talking about service. And a lot of the things that you do will sometimes go unnoticed.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And a lot of times you have to be able to tell your own story in order for you to grow.
Okay.
You know, you can't depend on another person to tell your story. You might have a supervisor who knows what your contribution is, but not all the time that person will tell your story. So I met this guy once when I was traveling to a trade show, and he was one of the speakers, and I had a conversation with him afterwards. And he said to me, Paul, you have to have a 15-second, he didn't call it a speech, but you have to have a he called it the elevator speech, where if you find yourself in an elevator with your boss, you should have 15 seconds to make an impression. 15 seconds, and you should have something prepared. That in the event that that takes place, you're ready to take advantage of that opportunity. And I've never forgotten that. So I think that the biggest challenge that you'll have is again, because it's a service-oriented industry, a lot of things that we do, most times will go unnoticed. Not all the time, but a lot of times it will go unnoticed. You go above and beyond in taking care of a guest or doing, providing a service to an individual. It might go unnoticed, but you might make one mistake or you might not deliver or meet someone's expectation one time and the whole world will know. You can't allow that to get you down. You got to keep going.
Okay.
That would be my advice,
And last one. For me, my ultimate goal is to eventually own my little bed and breakfast and oceanfront property in Orlando and manage it. What would be your advice to a young entrepreneur like myself to go ahead and achieve that goal?
Passion, first of all. Once you have the passion and the drive to get it done, you'll get there. But once you get there, always remember this, that the only competitive edge that you have in the service industry is service. That's the only thing that's going to differentiate or distinguish you from your competitors. Most people, they have the same product. For example, if let's say you walked into a Marriott or a Hilton, the rooms are pretty much the same. They might be decorated differently. Okay. But what brings back a guest to the Marriott or to the Hilton is the service that he receives. So the only competitive edge that you have in this business is the service that you provide. So when you get there, and I have I believe that's somewhere that you'll get. It seems as if you have the drive, you've taken this interview very seriously. Okay. I saw you, the way you came in and the way you set up and how focused you were in getting this interview done and how relentless you were in getting my attention and the phone calls that you made. I have no doubt in my mind that you'll get there. But when you get there, what's going to keep you on top is the service that you provide. Never hold back. Never hold back the service that you provide.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're most welcome.
It was a pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. The pleasure was all mine.
I will see you at the top because I will definitely take all that you said to me, reminisce on it, and go full throttle out there and achieve my goal. So,
Passion.
Mr. Williams, it's a pleasure again. Thank you for doing this interview with me and enjoy the rest of your day.
That's right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.